We are literally going to show you step by step how you can win your matchup this week. This episode is brought to you by Sharps. Sharps is the social network for sports bettors. Download Sharps today for free and use the promo code GAMEPICK. And make sure you stick around until the end because I'm going to share a secret step-by-step playoff strategy for the week of March 6th, 2023 to make sure you stay in the hunt for your fantasy championship. But first, here are the waiver wire targets you need to pay attention to for week 20 of the NBA fantasy season. The first guy I want to talk about is a priority ad. Yes, from the Memphis Grizzlies, Tyus Jones. Listen, this whole Ja Morant thing has me all messed up. Like, I'm a big time Ja Morant fan. As many of you know, last year I was on the bandwagon for the Memphis Grizzlies, hoping they could make it to the finals. But listen, your man Ja Morant is doing some wild stuff. I won't go too deep into it. Let's just know there was some issues with him snuffing a kid at his house at a basketball game. There was a situation with some of his homies, or somebody was pointing a laser at the Indiana Pacers bus. And now we got this last situation where your man is on IG Live with the blicky looking and acting reckless. Listen, we don't typically have handcuffs in fantasy basketball. Tyus Jones is the exception. Many people held on to him because they know if Ja Morant goes down, which he often does, right? You got yourself a top 50 guy. So if you were like me in a couple of leagues, you already had him stashed. If he's available on your waiver wire, run out there and get him right now. Especially if you folks who are playing in ESPN leagues, he is only rostered in 9.9% of those leagues. Next up from the Charlotte Hornets, we have Dennis Smith Jr. He is just rostered in 39% of Yahoo leagues, 20% of ESPN leagues over the last 7 days. He's averaged 26.3 minutes per game, 8.3 points, 3.3 assists, 6.3 rebounds, and 1.3 steals. Those aren't the craziest numbers in the world, but with LaMelo Ball being out for the rest of the season, it is time to fire up Dennis Smith Jr. From the Houston Rockets, Kenyon Martin Jr. He's only rostered in 49% of Yahoo leagues, 16% of ESPN leagues. Over the last 7 days, he's averaged 33 minutes per game, 15.5 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 2 assists, but 1 block per game. He is filling it up in so many different categories. If he's available, I would give it a shot. Pick up some KJ Martin. The next player is guaranteed to win somebody their matchup this week. Yes, from the Washington Wizards, I'm talking about Delon Wright. Over the last 7 days, he's averaged 33 minutes per game, 12 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and 2.3 steals. Like my head is exploding. Listen, if he's available on your wire, you got to get him right to the now. I picked him up in a couple of leagues. Yo, I think he dropped like 60 fantasy points the other night. Down the stretch, they might give him more run. Make sure you go pick him up if he is available. The next player is making his debut to the show. We have literally never spoken about this man here on this channel. He recently got traded from the Sixers over to the Blazers. Yes, I'm talking about the defensive specialist, Matisse Thybulle. Over the last 7 days, Thybulle has averaged 32.8 minutes per game. So he's getting a run, y'all. 10.8 points, 4.8 rebounds, 2 assists per game, and check this out, 2 steals per game. I'm not done. 2 blocks per game. Go grab this man, throw him on your roster. He might help you bring home that championship this year. Next up from the Utah Jazz, Chris Dunn. Chris Dunn is just rostered in 5.1% of ESPN leagues. Over the last 7 days, he's averaging 24.5 minutes per game, 11 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 2.5 steals. This is crazy. Listen, if you could grab him right now, I think because of the injuries to Sexton, because of the injuries to Clarkson, they're both out. They need somebody to manage the backcourt. Go ahead and grab him and see what happens. This player has been killing it the last few weeks. Yes, from the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm talking about Xavier Tillman. Over the last 7 days, he's averaged 30 minutes per game. Getting the playing time, 11 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, 3 assists, 0.7 steals, and 1 block per game. Especially with the uncertainty around Ja Morant, there's going to need to be someone who steps up to put the ball in the basket. And this man has already shown over the last 7 days that he can, in fact, do that. By the way, I'm Robin Marks from Game Pick Fantasy Basketball. You can connect with me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Game Pick Podcast. If you love fantasy sports, please consider subscribing, give this episode a like, and hit the bell to turn on notifications so you don't miss any of these fantasy gems. We release new episodes every single week. If you need help with your team, drop a comment with your question. Very important. If you have follow-up questions or more than one question, do not reply to your comment on the same thread. Just start a brand new comment thread so I don't miss your question. I will answer every single comment for this episode. Now we're gonna do our Discord Q&A. To join our free private Discord server of over 1,300 fantasy basketball fanatics, all you have to do is hit the link in the description of this episode. The first question is from Prue Crew. He wants to know, would you drop Trey Jones for Tyus Jones? And the answer is yes. And I'll tell you why. Listen, everyone knows that Ja Morant's situation is up in the air. So like I said earlier, Tyus Jones is the must-add player off of the waiver wire right now. Now, on the other side of that Jones coin, Trey Jones, your man is not playing until Friday. So he plays for the Spurs. They are cursed this week. So for me, I am definitely dropping Trey Jones for Tyus Jones. The next question is from Topics 1K. He wants to know, what are your thoughts on Ja? And will he be out for more than the 2-game suspension? Maybe. And here's why. Listen, I can't say what's going to happen because I don't have the connections, with the NBA league office. Will they throw an additional suspension? Will he just take time for himself? I do think there's a chance that he misses multiple weeks. That's just a hunch. You can't hold me to that because, again, I don't have any solid data or information to prove it. My theory is that either he's going to go into some program or something, or the league is going to come down and, issue out an additional suspension. The next question is from Chaebol. He says, my question is about streaming strategy for the finals. Being the finals, it opens up dropping great players that play their last game on Friday to stream a back-to-back on the weekend. Or if the last game is a Saturday, drop and stream on Sunday. Do you think in the finals we should just stick to regular streaming or save our ads for the other strategy? Thanks. Listen, Chaebol, in the finals, and also I'll take it a step further, in the fantasy playoffs, anything goes. First thing, you want to make sure that you don't have an undroppable player list, right? So if you're in a league and there's certain players like you can't drop LeBron or something like that, you need to talk to your commissioner and get that changed. Because when it comes down to it, if you don't make the necessary moves today, you won't get to play tomorrow. So in this case, when you're talking about dropping players on their last game, if they don't play another game for the rest of the fantasy playoffs, if you're in the finals and it's like Friday is their last game, absolutely it's necessary to drop them to make sure that you have that streaming spot. The next question is from Aussie Boomers, a game pick aficionado, original day one. Big up my man. Listen, he says, can you show this week's schedule for who is playing more this week and who is playing less? I got you. So here we are on #basketball with their fantasy basketball playoff schedule. We're looking at week 20, which is the week of March 6th. So we'll start with the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta has 4 games. Brooklyn has 4 games. The Warriors, Rockets, and Grizzlies all have 3 games. The Thunder and the Sixers have 4 games. The Kings have 3 games. The Wizards, 4 games. Celtics, 3. Hornets, Cavaliers, 4 games. Mavericks, 3 games. Nuggets, Pistons, 4 games. Pacers, Lakers, 3 games. The Heat have 4 games. The Bucks have 3. The Pels have 4. The Magic have 3. The Blazers have 4. Here's where it gets ugly. The Spurs have 2 games this week. The Raptors have 3. The Bulls and the Wolves have 2 games this week. The Knicks have 4 games this week. The Suns, only 2 games this week, guys. Utah Jazz have 3, and the Los Angeles Clippers have 2. I know I promised to tell you about the secret strategy to win in week 20, but before I do that, I want to tell you about our newest sponsor, Sharps. Sharps is a social network for sports bettors. It connects to all of the major sports books, DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, etc. And it also connects to daily fantasy platforms like Underdog. Sharps allows you to see what your friends are actually betting and interact with their bets. The folks at Sharps have created a community that offers true transparency. Download Sharps today for free and use the promo code GAMEPICK. And don't forget, follow my plays on Sharps, the social network for sports bettors. As promised, here's my secret strategy for the week of March 6th. 2023. Many of you are in the fantasy playoffs. Let's get it. Number 1, make sure you have 2 to 3 streaming slots and be aware of how many acquisitions you have. Most leagues have 4, but your league may be different. Make sure you go check your league settings if you don't know. For my experienced players, make sure you can squeeze the value out of each streaming slot. Number 2, add a Pistons player early in the week. Yeah, I said the Pistons. I threw up in my mouth a little bit just saying it, but listen, they play Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday this week. Early. Listen, if you can grab a Bagley, a Wiseman, a Diallo, or even a Corey Joseph. Killian Hayes is out right now. I don't know the extent of his injury, but he is out. They're going to need somebody to man the backcourt. I know it doesn't sound sexy, but trust me, if you grab one of these guys early on in the beginning of the week, you're going to get Monday and Tuesday, and even you might be able to hold them for Thursday if they're performing. Number 3, add a Sixers player early on in the week. I'm talking Monday and Tuesday, they have a back-to-back. So grab Jalen McDaniels, DeAnthony Melton, George Niang, or even Shake Milton. Listen, the value you'll get from that one ad will be worth 2 days of action. So you might be able to get a better player, but will they give you the amount of minutes that you can get from these Philly players? Number 4, add a Miami player mid-week. They play 3 games between Wednesday and Saturday. So I'm talking about Kevin Love, Strus, Caleb Martin, even Gabe Vincent. If you could pick one of those guys up midweek to play Wednesday and maybe hold them till Saturday, you'll get so much value out of that streaming spot. Number 6, when it comes to streaming, stay away from the following teams: the Bulls, the Clippers, the Wolves, the Suns. They only play 2 games this week, so I would stay away from those guys. And number 7, if necessary, you can drop any of your San Antonio Spurs players. Yes, I'm talking about Sohan. I'm talking about Jones. I'm talking even about my man Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell. I love those guys. But listen, they don't play until Friday, March 10th. That's pretty much like having somebody on your roster that's not giving you any value. So you can hold on to them if you're doing well. So if you start off the week on Monday and you want to weigh it out and you get a big lead, I'm with you. But if you're in a close matchup can change into a blowout overnight. So if you need to get focused, drop those guys, especially the Sohans and those guys. Like, if you need to cut them off now, just do it and start picking up those other players that I talked about. Again, don't forget to download the Sharps app. It is absolutely free, guys, and you will be supporting this channel if you do so. And quick reminder, if you need help with your fantasy squad this week, drop your questions in the comment section below. And again, very important, if you have a follow-up question, do not reply in your comment. Just start a new comment thread. I don't want to miss your questions. I promise I will answer every single comment for this episode. I want you to win your week. And don't forget, play the waivers, set your lineups, and follow Game Pick, your freaking fantasy nerd.